She kept pacing in front of me with that glowing little guidebook in her hands, flipping pages like she'd discovered the secret manual for operating a human. I should have known something was wrong the moment she gasped dramatically and whispered, "Oh, so that is why you haven't fully bonded with me yet." The smile she gave me after that should have been illegal, sweet, excited, and just a little unhinged. Before I could ask what she'd found, she snapped the book shut, grabbed my wrist, and said, "Human, tonight we performed the ritual." I didn't even know there was a ritual. I thought roommates just argued about dishwashing schedules and who ate the last pack of noodles. But apparently, according to this badly translated alien guidebook, which I swear was probably written by a 1920s magician pretending to be a scientist, humans require intense private bonding rituals to maintain friendship. She read it in such a serious, reverent tone that for a second, I wondered if I had unknowingly ignored some ancient human tradition. Then she locked the bedroom door behind us, and I immediately realized, absolutely not. She had decorated the room like a neon-lit alien honeymoon suite. Glowing crystals hung from the ceiling, humming in different pitches like they were trying out for a choir. Thick blue vapors drifted around the bed, which now looked suspiciously larger than before. And in the corner sat a stack of metal bowls filled with mud that sparkled like radioactive glitter. It was less friendship ritual, and more sci-fi spa run by a dangerously enthusiastic goddess. I tried to speak. "Zyrala, what exactly did that book say?" She beamed at me like a teacher thrilled a student finally raised their hand. "It says humans require closeness, prolonged proximity, and private night-long rituals. Without this, friendship decays." She said decays, like she meant it physically melts off your body. I told her humans don't do overnight containment bonding just to stay friends. She shook her head like I was a child who believed clouds were made of cotton candy. "The guidebook is Earth certified. Written by a human expert named Dr. Human." Already sounded fake. Before I could protest, she pressed a warm, glowing crystal into my hand. It buzzed like it had opinions about me. "Hold this," she said. "It measures your willingness." The crystal pulsed red. Zyrala gasped. "You are resisting the ritual." "I'm resisting the kidnapping," I corrected. But she was already dragging me deeper into the room with a strength that suggested she had no idea what gentle meant. The mud baths bubbled. The bed tilted forward like it wanted a hug. The lights dimmed to a romantic purple I absolutely did not approve of. And then Zyrala started using those double-edged, unintentionally suggestive lines that always turned my brain into mashed potatoes. "Do not fear. I will guide your body through the bonding. You must relax. Humans get stiff when nervous. You cannot escape before completion. That would ruin everything." Every time she said completion, my soul tried to leave my body. I tried humor to defuse the situation. "Look, you don't need to lock me in a glowing bedroom just to be my friend." Her eyes softened, her bioluminescent freckles dimming. "I know," she murmured with surprising honesty. "But I want us to be more than ordinary friends, and your Earth culture is confusing. This book says humans panic unless privately contained." Then she looked at me with this shy, hopeful glow that made running away feel like kicking a puppy. And then her usual boldness returned. "Besides, you smell very compatible tonight." That sentence alone raised my heart rate 40%. She lifted a bowl of luminescent mud like a holy offering. "We begin the ritual of shared softening. After this, you will trust me." I backed up. The bed pushed me forward. The window sealed itself with a polite chime that genuinely offended me. Even the air felt like it was nudging me toward her. Her smile widened. "Friendship Maintenance Level 7, Overnight Containment, begins now." And that's when I realized there was absolutely no way I was getting out of that room until sunrise. Zyrala clapped her hands, and the room lit up like a nightclub designed by someone who failed every interior design exam but passed every chaos exam ever invented. The crystals on the walls brightened, the air thickened with sweet metallic incense, and the glowing mud bowls bubbled like they were impatient for my skin. I was already regretting every life choice that led me to renting this apartment. She looked thrilled, though, radiant, eager, vibrating with the confidence of someone who thinks they know exactly what they're doing, despite the fact that the book she was following probably came free with a cereal box. She handed me a towel. Or what I assumed was a towel. It pulsed. Like a heartbeat. "Remove what makes you uncomfortable," she said, absolutely unaware of how much adult tension she just injected into the atmosphere. "The mud must touch your most authentic surface." I tried to ask what authentic surface meant, but she cut me off with, "Do not fear. I have seen humans before." That did not calm me. At all. She dipped her fingers into the glowing mud and motioned for me to step forward. It crawled up her hand like playful jelly. "It awakens the bonding receptors," she said proudly. "It also tastes good." Then she actually licked it. I don't know what was more alarming, the fact that she tasted glowing mud or the fact that she made a pleased little hum afterward. I gave up on understanding her biology a long time ago. She smeared the warm, moving substance on my arm, and I flinched because it wriggled like it was exploring me. "Stop moving," she scolded. "You are disrupting its confidence." The mud had confidence? Great. Even the skincare in this ritual had more self-esteem than I did. When she finished coating my arms and shoulders, she activated the next ritual by tapping her temples. A soft hum filled the room, and suddenly, her voice echoed inside my skull. "Sing your inner truth." She didn't say it out loud. She said it inside my head. I panicked. The first mental song that spilled out was me swearing, followed by a vivid memory of the time I fell off a bike in front of my middle school crush. She saw it instantly through the mental link and burst into laughter so bright the crystals flickered in sympathy. "My poor human," she teased. "Your past is full of adorable humiliation." I tried to shut the connection off. No luck. Meanwhile, her inner voice was serenading me with something slow, intense, and far too romantic to be safe. Her mind sang like she was auditioning to be someone's intergalactic soulmate, and I was the accidental audience. I tried to think of neutral things, math, taxes, my landlord's face, but her song wrapped around them like silk, making everything feel warmer and more dangerous. The connection faded only after she announced, "Your emotional frequencies are acceptable. Now we perform the scent exchange." She lifted a small vial and spritzed me with something that smelled like cinnamon mixed with fresh lightning. I felt lightheaded. She leaned in and inhaled like she was sampling a fine wine. "Ah. Your natural scent is..." She paused, thinking deeply. "Comfortably edible." I choked. "Humans aren't edible." She smiled. "Not in the literal way." The way she said, literal, did not reassure me. Then came the cuddle drills. She positioned us in ways that defied physics and personal boundaries. "Koala mode," she declared as she wrapped her arms and one leg around me in a cling so tight I could hear her heartbeat through her chest. "This is required for full contact calibration." I tried to step back. She clung harder. "Struggle indicates enthusiasm," she said smugly. That was absolutely not true, but she believed every word with the confidence of someone quoting scripture. Then came dual gravity embrace, which involved her anchoring herself to me like a starship docking. The proximity sent heat crawling up my neck, and I hated how much my body refused to behave neutrally. She noticed instantly. "Your temperature is rising," she said with delighted curiosity. "Is this a sign of deeper bonding?" "No," I lied. "This is a sign of near suffocation." Without missing a beat, she shifted us into the spiral cuddle weave, which looked like the kind of pose gym instructors claim strengthens core muscles, but really only strengthens regret. Somehow, this position brought our faces extremely close. Too close. Romance movie training montage close. She didn't seem bothered. She was busy analyzing my vibrational comfort data. I was busy trying not to combust. Every time I tried to stand, she nudged me back into a new form like she was folding a human-shaped pretzel. "You are doing well," she praised. "For someone whose species fears intimacy." "I don't fear intimacy," I argued. I fear being wrapped like a burrito by a glowing alien who won't let me leave the room. She took that as a compliment. Good. Continue fearing. It deepens the ritual. I made one last attempt to escape by reaching for the window. It sealed itself instantly, emitting a cheerful digital chime. Window protocol activated, NO. Zyrala looked pleased. See? Even your architecture understands friendship rituals. At that point, I realized I was not surviving this night through logic, strength, or negotiation. The only way out was sunrise, or death by cuddle drill. Zyrala tapped the humming crystal by the bed, and it let out a low vibration that made every hair on my arms stand up. We have arrived at stage 3, she announced with a ceremonial seriousness that would have been intimidating if she weren't wearing glittery mud like war paint. Intimate proximity calibration must now begin. I didn't like the sound of that. In fact, I didn't like the sound of any stage of this ritual, especially ones with the word intimate baked right in. Calibration for what? I asked. To ensure we align emotionally, physically, and spiritually, she replied. Also, the guidebook says it prevents humans from exploding from loneliness. She said it so earnestly I almost started laughing, but then I saw her expression, pure concern, as if she genuinely feared I might go boom if we didn't do this. She stepped closer, and for a moment, I thought she was going to start another cuddle drill, but instead she pressed her forehead to mine. A soft click. Our minds connected again, this time smoother, deeper. I felt a gentle ripple across my thoughts, like someone dipping their fingers into a pool inside my skull. And then I heard her. He thinks I'm cute. It wasn't spoken. It wasn't meant to be heard. It was one of her private thoughts drifting across the bond, glowing with embarrassment. My brain panicked so loud she heard it instantly. No, that was an accident, I mentally screamed. Her glow brightened. You find me attractive. I tried to imagine the most unromantic thing possible, tax returns, moldy bread, my father's haircut, but none of it mattered. The bond transmitted my flustered panic straight to her. She giggled like she'd discovered newly hatched feelings under a rock. But then, her thoughts slipped too, her voice inside my mind, softer, unguarded. He smells comforting. I like when he stands this close. I blinked hard, and she immediately recoiled, breaking the link with an embarrassed gasp. You were not supposed to hear that, she blurted. You weren't supposed to hear mine either. We stared at each other, flustered on mutually destructive levels, glowing mud cracking like badly applied makeup. For a moment, the chaos paused, and the room felt dangerously quiet, almost tender. Then she did what Zyrala always does when overwhelmed. She doubled down on ritual. We must continue, she insisted quickly, before your emotional circuits destabilize. Mine were already destabilized beyond repair, but that didn't stop her. She retrieved a floating bowl of translucent fruit, each piece pulsing with light. This is the nourishment of heart strengthening, she said. You must eat one while thinking of someone you admire. She popped one into her mouth and chewed happily. See? Delicious. I reluctantly tried one. It tasted like passion fruit, electricity, and regret. She smiled approvingly. Do not die, she said. The neighbor survived. What neighbor? Sure, you are chewing. Before I could press further, she wrapped a floating blanket around both of us. It behaved like a needy pet, snuggling, tightening, practically hugging us together. This assists the calibration, she said. That thing is alive. Yes. It is affectionate. It's crushing my ribs. That means it likes you. The blanket squeezed us closer until our shoulders and legs touched, warmth radiating between us. The incense thickened, glowing embers drifting like lazy fireflies. Her bioluminescent freckles shimmered inches from my face, and for a moment, the absurdity faded into undeniable chemistry. Her voice softened. Human, you do not need rituals to stay with me. It was the most sincere thing she'd said all night. I know, I replied quietly. You could have just asked. She looked stunned, as if the idea was too simple to be true. But the book says? The book is garbage. But it is Earth-written. It's written by someone named Dr. Hubman. That's not a real name. She frowned, processing this revelation like a computer error. Then, I did all this for nothing? I shook my head. You didn't do it for nothing. You just didn't need to kidnap me to bond. She touched my arm gently, her voice almost shy. I feared you would not choose to stay close if I did not create circumstances. A subtle ache pressed into my chest at how genuine she sounded. You don't have to trap me for that, I said. I like being around you. Her eyes widened, glowing in a way that immediately made me nervous. Too hopeful. Too bright. And then, a siren-like sound echoed through the room. Cyrala gasped. We have reached the grand convergence of souls. The final moment of stage 3. I groaned. I have reached the final moment of my patience. She grabbed both my hands like preparing to initiate a sacred vow. The crystals flared. And just like that, the night promised to get even stranger. The moment the first sliver of morning light slipped past the curtains, the room felt different, not calmer, just different. She stretched like someone who had absolutely no regrets, her strange glowing markings dimming with the sunrise as if they were finally satisfied. I barely had time to breathe before she shifted closer, propping herself on one elbow, tail flicking with a smug confidence that made it clear she thought the night had been a complete victory. When she told me I wasn't allowed to leave the bedroom yet, I didn't even argue. Arguing with a determined alien was like trying to reason with a malfunctioning warp engine, pointless and dangerous, especially when she looked at me like she was debating round 2, 3, and 4. She stayed uncomfortably close, her forehead almost touching mine, studying me like she was trying to memorize every micro-expression. I tried to sit up, and she pushed me back down like I weighed nothing. She didn't even use force, just bold, unshakable confidence. Humans shouldn't walk immediately after such vigorous cross-species engagement, she declared, like she was quoting a scientific study she made up on the spot. Her fake seriousness nearly made me choke on a laugh, but I didn't dare let it slip out because she was clearly proud of her research. Before I could respond, she started rambling, explaining every moment of the night in unnecessary detail, pointing out what she found fascinating about humans, what she still didn't understand, and what she wanted to examine again later for accuracy. Each new comment made my face hotter, but she seemed oblivious, treating intimacy like it was a lab project. Apparently I was her favorite experiment, which she said with a straight face before trailing her fingers across my chest like she was checking for vital signs. I wasn't sure if I should be flattered or concerned. She finally stood up, stretching, her posture smug in a way that needed no translation across species. I reached for the edge of the bed to stand, only for her to snap back instantly, crossing the distance like some superhuman blur. She pushed me onto the pillows with just a firm touch to my shoulder, tail swishing with the kind of playful threat that said she was absolutely not joking. Humans require rest after a successful bonding cycle, she insisted. I told her humans also required food, water, and dignity, but she didn't care. She sat next to me and declared she would supervise my recovery personally. That supervision involved her making sure I didn't escape while also asking rapid-fire questions about human anatomy, human relationships, and something she called romantic mating rituals, which she claimed humans were unusually dramatic about. Every time I tried to clarify something, she'd interrupt with her own alien interpretation, which usually made no sense but sounded incredibly confident. By the time she was done explaining her version of human flirting, I was certain she had learned about Earth from a chaotic combination of outdated documentaries and questionable fanfiction. At one point, I actually managed to slip off the bed, but she teleported, or moved incredibly fast, right in front of the door, blocking it with her whole body like a playful guard animal who took her job way too seriously. She tilted her head and smirked, telling me I was still not released from the night's consequences. I asked her what consequences she was talking about, and she just tapped my chest with a clawed fingertip and said, "You agreed to cohabitate with a Zerathi female. This is what happens, I decide, when the bonding ends. I definitely had not agreed to that, but she seemed convinced I had. She finally relented enough to let me sit on the edge of the bed, though she hovered inches away like she thought I might try to sprint out the door the second she blinked. I didn't deny it. She gently lifted my chin, forcing me to meet her eyes, and said she wouldn't keep me trapped all day, just until she was emotionally satisfied with the aftermath. I didn't know what that meant, and I wasn't sure she did either, but the way her cheeks glowed faintly made it look like the alien equivalent of a blush. She admitted, in the least subtle way possible, that she wasn't used to sharing space with someone who made her instincts react so intensely. She finally let me stand on my own but stayed close enough to catch me if I wobbled, which she pretended was purely scientific but was clearly half affection, half claiming her territory. When I took my first step toward the door, she whispered that next time, she might not let me out even when morning came. I didn't look back. I didn't trust myself to, but I heard her soft, proud laugh behind me, the kind that said she considered the night and its aftermath a complete success. And as embarrassing as it was, a part of me already knew this wasn't the last time she would trap me in that room all night, or keep me there long after sunrise.